The Dahiya Doctrine is a military strategy that was employed by the Israel Defense Forces (IDF) during the 2006 Lebanon War. Named after the Dahiya neighborhood in southern Beirut, Lebanon, where it was first applied, this doctrine represents a controversial approach to warfare in which overwhelming force and destruction are used to cripple an adversary's infrastructure and instill fear within the civilian population in an effort to compel the enemy to cease hostilities. In essence, the Dahiya Doctrine advocates for the deliberate targeting of civilian areas and infrastructure that may have some strategic or military significance for the enemy. This approach is justified under the premise that by causing widespread destruction and suffering among the civilian population, the enemy's support for their leadership and armed forces would diminish, ultimately pressuring them to seek a ceasefire or surrender. During the 2006 Lebanon War, the IDF implemented the Dahiya Doctrine against Hezbollah, a Shiite militant group based in Lebanon. The IDF conducted extensive aerial bombardments of neighborhoods in southern Beirut, which were known strongholds of Hezbollah support. These bombings resulted in significant civilian casualties and the destruction of homes, businesses, and vital infrastructure, including power plants and bridges. Critics argue that the Dahiya Doctrine raises serious ethical concerns as it deliberately targets civilians and civilian infrastructure, which is considered a violation of international humanitarian law. The doctrine has been widely criticized for causing disproportionate harm to non-combatants and for its potential to create long-lasting animosity and radicalization among affected populations. The Dahiya Doctrine also has broader implications for the conduct of modern warfare. Some argue that it represents a shift towards asymmetrical warfare, where state actors are increasingly willing to employ extreme measures to achieve their military and political objectives. This approach blurs the lines between combatants and civilians, making it difficult to distinguish between legitimate military targets and innocent bystanders. The doctrine has sparked intense debate within the international community, with some nations expressing concern about its implications for civilian protection and the laws of armed conflict. Advocates of the Dahiya Doctrine argue that it serves as a deterrent and can help shorten conflicts by exerting maximum pressure on the adversary. However, opponents emphasize the importance of upholding international norms that protect civilians during armed conflicts. In conclusion, the Dahiya Doctrine is a controversial military strategy that involves the deliberate targeting of civilian areas and infrastructure to weaken an adversary's resolve. While proponents argue that it can be an effective means of achieving military objectives, critics raise serious ethical and legal concerns regarding its impact on civilian populations and the principles of international humanitarian law. The doctrine remains a subject of intense debate and scrutiny in discussions on the ethics and conduct of modern warfare.